Did you find the strength?
We're women, honey. The strength finds us.
All right, well, good afternoon. And welcome to the 18th Annual Army Women's Foundation Scholarship Awards and Hall of Fame ceremony. And what you just watched, that very brief clip, it really reflects the grit, the grace, and the determination that every woman, Army woman and military woman brings to the force. And we'd like to thank a Air Force retired Lieutenant Colonel Jessica Rittenberg for that. Before we begin, just a couple quick notes. If you could, just ensure that your cell phone is silenced. And I just want to let you know that we do have a live stream off of our Facebook page. And so for those that are watching, our friends and family at home, we welcome you also to this event. And so as we begin, I would like to ask you to all rise for the national anthem. And again, thank you for being here today, and it's my honor to introduce the President of the U.S. Army Women's Foundation, Lieutenant General retired Kathy Gainey. Kathy.
Thank you, Janie. Good afternoon, honored inductees, scholarship recipients, fellow soldiers, service members, family, and friends. I particularly want to welcome our distinguished visitors, the Honorable Lloyd Austin, former Secretary of Defense, and Mrs. Austin, the Honorable I'm going to ask you all to hold because I have a long list of these. The Honorable Tanya Bradshear, former Deputy Secretary of Veterans Affairs, the Honorable Robert Bell, Chief Judge of the Maryland Court of Appeals, the Honorable Patricia Timmons Goodson, Assistant Justice of the North Carolina Supreme Court, General and Mrs. Dennis Fye, former Commander of Army Materiel Command, Mrs. Sheila Casey, wife of retired General George Casey, Mrs. Susie Schwartz, wife of retired General Norton Schwartz, other flag officers, SESs, and political appointees. It's my honor to welcome you to 18th Annual Scholarship Awards and Hall of Fame ceremony. We gather here to recognize extraordinary women whose service, scholarship, and leadership have strengthened our Army and our nation. To our Hall of Fame inductees, you are trailblazers. You stepped forward when the path was uncertain, when the doors were only partially open, and you pushed them wider. Because of you, the next generation starts so much farther forward. Thank you. You led formations. You shaped policy. You mentored quietly, and you advocated boldly. You championed for opportunity, not just for the women in uniform, but for the families that stood behind them. The impact you left is well beyond your rank and title. It's in the leaders that you inspired and the foundations that you set forth in all that served with you. To our scholarship recipients, You represent the future we are building forward. Your commitment to education is an investment not only in yourselves, but in our military community. Education is empowerment. It expands the opportunity. It fuels innovation. It ensures talent, not circumstance, to define what is possible. The Army Women's Foundation deeply believes in growth in knowledge, in leadership, and in service, whether in uniform or all beyond. Learning is how we continue to lead. It's how we transform experience into impact. This afternoon is a reminder that that progress doesn't happen by accident. It happens because women chose to serve, to study, to lead, and to lift up those beside them. It happens because leaders advocate for equity. To the women we honor this afternoon, thank you for creating this opportunity where none existed, for standing firm when it was difficult, and for ensuring those that followed you had a much clearer path to follow. On behalf of the Army Women's Foundation, thank you for joining us today and celebrating service, scholarship, and our future leaders. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. And now for one of the most meaningful moments in this ceremony. It's the presentation of the 2026 Scholarship Awards. These scholarships are truly a very tangible, very tangible part of the Foundation's mission. It's an investment in the education and advancement of Army women and their families. And to present this year's awardees, please welcome the Scholarship Committee Chair, Colonel Alice Demers.
Thank you, Janie. Good afternoon, and welcome to the Scholarship Awards portion of today's ceremony, especially with the weather. This year, we received 301 online scholarship applications, and our volunteer committee spent hours reviewing the 54 complete applications. The scholarships were awarded in two major categories: Army women and the lineal descendants of Army women, that is, children, grandchildren, and possibly great-grandchildren. The Army women and the lineal descendants are considered separately so they don't compete against each other. Since 2008, and including today's awardees, we have awarded 439 scholarships. Today, on behalf of the Army Women's Foundation and its Legacy Scholarship Program Committee, I'm proud to announce the names of 22 Legacy Scholarship recipients and their sponsors. As in past events, we're honored to have some sponsors and some recipients here with us today. Because we grant awards to scholars from all over the world, most of our recipients are unable to attend our ceremony in person, but we do have a few videos that we'll show at that time. All the scholars greatly appreciate the transformative opportunity these scholarships provide. We honor them, and we also honor the generous sponsors who make this all possible. Our first group of scholars are sponsored by a longtime supporter of the Foundation, the Pritzker Military Library and Museum. The first scholar is Lieutenant Claire Del Nogor, a master's in space operations student at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. Claire can't be with us here today, but she did send a video.
Thank you to all supporters of Army Women's Foundation scholarships. My name is Claire Del Nogar, currently stationed Fort Rucker, Alabama, and I am active duty Army. For folks familiar with military postings, I am here for flight school, and I'll be PCSing to Germany this summer. I'm extremely appreciative for the scholarships that you offer as someone who is not included in most scholarships that are offered for military personnel. My education office knew me by name because I was continually going in looking for opportunities and options for folks in my category. Thank you for casting a wide net and including officers and folks that are pursuing graduate education, as these two factors generally excluded me from all the other scholarships that I researched. So thank you very much for helping folks help themselves.
The other Pritzker scholar is retired Sergeant Major Sandra Johnson, who is pursuing a bachelor's degree in anthropology at Arizona State University. We are pleased to have with us here today Lieutenant Colonel retired Jennifer Pritzker, the founder and chairwoman of the Pritzker Military Museum and Library. Jennifer, would you join us up here to be recognized?
Thank you, Jennifer. We really appreciate it. It's an honor.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Okay, whatever. Congratulations to Claire and Sandra, and a special thanks again to Colonel Pritzker and the Pritzker Military Library and Museum for their constant support of the Army Women's Foundation. Well, we are happy to have FLOR as a longtime sponsor, and FLOR is represented here today by our very own Colonel Janie Carson, who is part of business development and logistics at FLOR. I'd ask Colonel Carson to come up to the podium to be recognized.
Happy to.
The FLOR Scholar for 2026 is Sergeant Paris Smith, a Bachelor of Science student in Mechanical Engineering at Mississippi State University. Congratulations to Paris, and thanks again to FLOR for their never-ending support. Another early sponsor of the Legacy Scholarship Program is Geico Military, and Sergeant Major Sizer was going to be here, but I don't think I see him. The weather, probably. The Geico Military Scholar for 2026 is Elizabeth Daniel, a student at Austin Peay State University in the Master of Business Administration program. Austin Peay University is in Clarksville, Tennessee, for those of you who don't know, and the fans of the athletic program there are called Peanuts, and their cheer is "Let's Go Pea." So thank you to Geico Military, and congratulations to Elizabeth. This year, another returning sponsor, Lockheed Martin, has provided a scholarship for Maggie Hugh, a master's student in mental health counseling at Marymount University. Maggie is here with us today with her husband, David, and I'd ask them to come join us up the podium here. Thanks to Lockheed Martin, and congratulations to Maggie. In 2024, Professional Contract Services Incorporated, PCSI, established a special scholarship for disabled Army women veterans or their lineal descendants. And we're supposed to have okay. And we're pleased to have with us today Ms. Andrea Spratley, Director of the PCSI People Team. All right, here. With your, is the rest of your crowd here? Okay, come on. And we come up forward, please. For the 2026 PCSI Awards, the Scholarship Committee selected Specialist Retired Christina Martinson, a doctoral candidate in Information System Security at the University of Cumberland, and Major Retired Laura Thompson, who is studying at Western Governors University for a Master's in Human Resources and Business. Congratulations to Christina and Laura, and thanks again to PCSI for being such a stalwart sponsor. In 2023, the 688 Scholarship was created and dedicated to honor and recognize the service of the women of the 688 Central Postal Directory Battalion during World War II. Through the efforts of 3 members of the Army Women's Foundation Hall of Fame, the 688 Scholarship is funded through individual donations expressly specified for this scholarship. The 3 founders of this scholarship are retired Brigadier General Adam Zender, Clara Adams-Zender, retired Colonel Edna Cummings, and retired Master Sergeant Elizabeth Helm Frazier. Colonel Cummings couldn't be here today, and General Adams-Zender was supposed to be here today, but the weather, amazingly, kept that indefatigable general home. But anyway, Master Sergeant Elizabeth Helm is with us today here. All right. Wait, don't go in. All right. Put the bag down. Put the bag over there. No picture, okay. All right, the 2026 688 scholarship is awarded to Captain Simone Askew, who will be attending Yale Law School in the fall. Simone has already made history in several different ways. Simone was the first African-American woman to serve as first captain, the leader of cadets at West Point. Simone was also honored by Glamour magazine as one of the top 10 college women of the year. We're happy to say that Simone is here with us. And isn't your mom's here? Mom? Yeah, come on. Pamela Askew, Simone's mom. Oh, now you can have the bag back. Okay. Pictures, certificates, pictures. There you go. Okay. Thank you, General Adams-Zender, Colonel Cummings, and Master Sergeant Helm Frazier, and to all those who have contributed to this scholarship. And congratulations to Simone.
On behalf of all of the 688, this is a post and it's called Keep Telling Their Story. So you are now charged to keep telling their story. And when you get a little sad, just look at these women, because I'm going to tell you, they got spirit to them. So here you are, and congratulations. Thank you very much. Thank you.
There you go. Sorry, Elizabeth, I didn't know about that. Okay, the 2026 recipient of the M.M. Costello Scholarship is Sydney Hockwind, a student at Millersville University in the Doctorate of Nursing Practice program, preparing to be a family nurse practitioner. This award is the result of a donation made to the Legacy Scholarship Program by John and Gail Howell, who have long been supporters of the foundation. We're very excited to introduce John and Gail Howell and ask them to come forward. They don't like to get their picture taken, but I tell them they have to do it. The Howells instituted the Costello Scholarship to honor John's early mentor, Ms. M.M. Costello, a dedicated Department of the Army civilian nurse who, in John's words, taught him everything he needed to know to properly care for his patients. The Howells established the scholarship to support students pursuing health care careers. John and Gail and the foundation are excited that this ongoing award continues to honor Ms. Costello and support the Legacy Scholarship. Thanks again to Gail and John for their long-standing support, and congratulations to Sydney. The foundation is honored again to award the Lieutenant Colonel Nancy Poor Scholarship to a qualified applicant who is pursuing studies in the healthcare field. Instituted by her husband, retired Lieutenant Colonel Lauren Poor, and their son Matthew Poor, this scholarship honors the long service to the nation by Lieutenant Colonel retired Nancy Poor, an Army nurse. Lieutenant Colonel Poor enlisted in the Army as a combat medic, completed her degree, and became an Army nurse on active duty in the reserves. As an Army spouse, Nancy followed her husband to numerous assignments, volunteering with the Red Cross and in hospitals wherever they were assigned. Nancy completed her master's in nursing and completed her Army career in Maine with the 405th Combat Support Hospital. Lieutenant Colonel Poor embraced volunteering in the Army Reserve as a civilian and with her church and with the University of Southern Maine nursing program. Never one to sit idle, Colonel Poor worked as a civilian nurse while completing her advanced nursing practice program at Simmons College. The recipient of this scholarship must highlight their volunteer experiences to reflect the service modeled by Lieutenant Colonel Nancy Poor. The 2026 Lieutenant Colonel Nancy Poor Scholarship is awarded to Mikhail Lewis, who is pursuing a doctorate in public health at George Washington University. Mikhail mirrors Colonel Poor's commitment to service by volunteering with the Alzheimer's Association, Planned Parenthood, and local birth centers. Mikhail can't be here today, but she did send a video that we'd like to show.
Hello, my name is Mikkel Lewis, but you can call me Mickey, and I am deeply honored to be selected as a recipient of the 2026 LTC Nancy Poor Scholarship through the U.S. Army Women's Foundation. I'm incredibly grateful to the Foundation and to the Poor family for their generosity and commitment to supporting Army women and their families in pursuing higher education. As I continue my great work in public health, specifically focused on addressing maternal mortality rates in the U.S., this scholarship not only eases the financial burden for my academic journey, but also it strengthens my commitment to service, leadership, and advancing equitable outcomes for women and their families. So I just wanted to say thank you again. Thank you for believing in me. Thank you for believing in my future. And thank you for believing in the impact that this great work can have.
Mikhail may not be here, but the Foundation is excited to welcome the founders of this scholarship, Lieutenant Colonel Lauren Poor and his son Matthew Poor, and I ask them to come join us. It's great to see you. Matthew, it's such an honor. The Foundation would like to thank Lauren and Matthew, and we look forward to a long and fruitful relationship, and congratulations to Mikhail. Each year, the Army Women's Foundation presents scholarship in honor of two women who have had a huge impact on the role of women in the Army. Colonel Oveta Kolb-Hobie, the first director of the Women's Army Corps, and Ms. Dita Hopkins-Kinney, the first superintendent of the Army Nurse Corps. As in the past, the Army Women's Foundation Board of Directors and Advisors are proud to sponsor the Hobby and Kinney Scholarships. The 2026 Hobby Scholarship is awarded to Sergeant First Class Jamea Mills-Pear, a doctoral candidate in education at Capella University. And this year's recipient of the Kinney Scholarship is Sergeant Julia Larson at Augustana University, pursuing a doctorate of physical therapy. Congratulations to Jamea and Julia, and thanks again to the Army Women's Foundation Board of Directors and Advisors. In 2018, the Foundation and Trident University International formed a partnership to provide full undergraduate and graduate programs each year to 6 Army women students. To date, 14 scholars have been awarded these scholarships. The latest recipients of these scholarships are Major Linda Brown and Lieutenant Colonel Felicia Fulton, both of whom are enrolled in the doctoral program in the School of Healthcare Administration. Major Damalee Muskok, a candidate for a Master's in Science and Health, a Master of Science in Health Sciences, and Robbie Ann Thomas, who is studying business administration at the doctoral level. Congratulations to Linda, Felicia, Damalee, and Robbie Ann. And the window for applications for the 2026 Trident Scholarships will open soon, so please spread the word and visit the Army Women's Foundation website for additional information. And thanks again to Trident for their continuing generosity. In addition to these named scholarships, the Legacy Scholarship Program awards grants to the following Army women. Sergeant First Class retired Christian McKinnon, a psychology student at Miami-Dade College. Staff Sergeant Emily Marlar at Liberty University in the Masters of Healthcare Administration. Captain Julia Reber, a Master in Chemistry student at the University of Colorado, Colorado Springs. Borgie Soto dos Santos, a prior Legacy Scholar who is enrolled at Cal State LA in the Master of Rehabilitative Counseling, and Lieutenant Colonel Sharon Steinking, another prior Legacy Scholar who was at the University of Wisconsin-Stout in the doctoral program for career and technical education. The following children of Army women have also been awarded these scholarships. They are Angelo Allen at Tuskegee. Now you notice he's in the Navy uniform there, you know. I point that out because I was in the Navy before I was in the Army, so there you go. Angelo Allen at Tuskegee University in Business Administration, Mariah Eakin at Virginia Commonwealth University in the Doctorate of Physical Therapy program, Daniela James at the University of Wisconsin Consortium in the Masters of Business Administration, Naya Nunnally, a prior legacy scholar at Morgan State University majoring in screenwriting and animation. Naya's parents, Charmaine and Joshua, are both Army veterans, and we are happy to say that Naya and her mom, Charmaine, are here today, and I'd ask them to come forward.
Thank you so much.
And our final recipient is Emery Pantajos of Northeastern University of the Masters of Professional Studies program. Congratulations to all the scholar recipients, and trust me, we're getting close to the end of this portion. The Army Women's Foundation Legacy Scholarship Program would not be possible without the continuing support of our fabulous sponsors. We can't say thank you to them enough, and we continue to do so. There are several sponsors in the audience that I'd ask you to stand when I call your name. Lieutenant General Richard and Diane Formica. Lieutenant General Formica has been a longtime supporter of the foundation, and we're pleased to welcome him and his wife Diane this year as personal sponsors. And General Formica is also a representative for Caliber, which has been a longstanding supporter of the program. And he is joined today by Ms. Barbara Richett, President for Contracts and Procurement, Lieutenant Colonel retired Larissa McGinty, and Dr. Asiba Green, Chief Warrant Officer 3, retired. Thank you very much. Let's have another round of applause for all our sponsors, scholarships, and partners. The Army Women's Foundation Board of Directors is the backbone of the scholarship effort. Without their confidence in the scholarship committee and their continuing support, a day like this would never happen. We'd also like to acknowledge Ms. Beth Spitley, the Director of Administration for the Foundation, and Ms. Danielle Osbat. Where's Danielle? In the back, right? The Administrative Assistant for the Foundation, who's also a Gold Star spouse. Beth and Daniel, thanks very much for everything you do. Finally, thanks to the members of our Legacy Scholarship Committee who do all they can to select the best candidates and to keep the program relevant. I'd like members today who are here, Colonel Janie Carson and Ms. Patricia Gronkowitz. Patty, where are you? Oh, she's standing in the back there, believe it or not. As well as Lieutenant Colonel Mary Springs, Staff Sergeant Stephanie Mitchell, and Ms. April Booth, and they couldn't be here today, but we again thank them for all that they do. And thank you for coming today, especially in the light of this weather. But now we're getting ready to enter one of the most inspiring portions of the ceremony, the presentation of the United States Army Women's Foundation Hall of Fame and Champions Award. And to present this year's awards, please welcome Lieutenant Colonel retired Michelle Horn. Michelle.
Thank you, Alice. It is among the highest honors of this ceremony to induct extraordinary Army women into the U.S. Army Women's Foundation Hall of Fame. These are women who broke barriers, led with distinction, and changed what was possible for every woman who came after them. For each inductee, I will read a biography. They will come onto the stage for their award presentation and photo, and each will share brief remarks. Let us begin. Brigadier General Julia J. Cleckley began her journey in the Women's Army Corps before earning her commission as First Lieutenant in the Adjutant General Corps with the 42nd Infantry Division. She holds a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology and Education from Hunter College and a Master in Science in Human Resource Management from Golden Gate University. And she was selected for the prestigious Senior Service Fellowship at the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy at Tufts University. Throughout her 28 years of service, General Cleckley broke barrier after barrier. She was the first African-American woman to be promoted to colonel in the Army National Guard's Active Reserve Program, and the first minority woman line officer to rise to the rank of brigadier general in the Army National Guard. She served as the first minority female branch chief, the first woman division chief, and the first woman on the Army National Guard's Guard Director's special staff as Chief Human Resources Officer, managing over 350,000 citizen soldiers. Her awards include the Distinguished Service Medal and the Legion of Merit. She is a Hunter College Hall of Fame inductee and recipient of the NAACP Roy Wilkins Renowned Service Award. Today, she leads Cleckley Enterprises and continues to inspire. Please welcome Brigadier General Retired Julia J. Cleckley.
Suffering beside us, so excuse me. I speak over here.
It is my distinct honor to present this to you. Thank you so much for all that you've done and the doors you opened.
Oh. Did you get it? Did I look then?
Okay.
I can give my remarks now? It won't be long. This is the day that the Lord has made, and let us rejoice and be glad in it. I am certainly rejoicing. My keeper over there. I would like to begin by thanking the Army Women's Foundation for this remarkable honor. I am deeply humbled and truly grateful to stand among so many extraordinary women and men who have served our nation with valor and distinction. When I reflect on my journey, I see a 19-year-old young woman fresh out of high school making one of the best decisions of her life, joining the Women's Army Corps. I joined to serve my country and to use the GI Bill to build a brighter future. What I could not foresee was how profoundly that one yes, when I raised my hand, would shape and transform me. As a young woman from Aliquippa, Pennsylvania, I want y'all to remember Aliquippa, Pennsylvania, and like so many of us in Aliquippa, we're not there now, but that's our hometown, and I have several people from Aliquippa here with me now. They're always with me. They're my friends. I did not always have clarity about my path growing up forward, but I kept moving. Along the way, I was blessed with leaders, mentors, family, teammates, and friends. Friends, near and far. I have them near and far who believed in me. People who challenged me, encouraged me, and supported me when I needed it most. There were moments when I wanted to quit, seasons when I cried more than I smiled, but there were also deep joy moments when I knew I was exactly where I was meant to be. One of the most important lessons I learned is this: you may not finish your journey with everyone you start with. Some people come into your life for a reason, others for a season, but each leaves an imprint that helps shape who you become. Today, I also honor and thank those who are not physically here, I would not cry, my late husband, a Vietnam veteran, and the father of our 2 daughters, my dear, sweet mother, who guided me through life, and my daughter, Ellen. I know they are celebrating in heaven, and I carry their love with me always. I would certainly, there's so many distinguished people out here, but I would certainly be remiss if I did not give a shout out to Lieutenant General Retired Roger Schultz, who's here today, a mentor, a dear friend, and a fellow veteran. He taught me so much. I am grateful to have my daughter, Helene, and my niece, Melissa Gifford, who just reminded me to put my glasses on because I can't see. I'm grateful to have them here today. They've always been with me. I have family members here that I love. Thank you for your love, your encouragement, Melissa, and for continually bringing being the wind beneath my wings. I was taught that no one achieves greatness alone. With every opportunity comes responsibility to reach back, to lift as we climb, and to make the path clearer for those who follow. And I have so many mentors that have done that, and they're still doing that. As we celebrate Women's History Month, I want you all to know that as we celebrate Women's History Month, which is here right now, let us remember that women's contributions are not confined to one month. They are woven into every chapter of our nation's story, and especially into the legacy of our Army, our services. To everyone here today, thank you again for this honor. I receive it with humility and gratitude, and I share it with every person who has poured into my life, my service, and my journey. My speechwriter, who is no longer writing my speeches, which is why I forgot my glasses, is here today. Colonel Roger Etzel and his wife, they're here. I love them dearly. They've been with me. They were with me so many years during my career. And as I close, I want to leave us with a charge. Let us not allow the stories and sacrifice of Army and all military women to live only in ceremonies and memories. Let us honor them with action. If you lead, open doors and make room at the table. If you mentor, reach back and pull someone forward. If you have influence, use it to create opportunities where talent can thrive. Be the encouragement you once needed. Be the advocate when it's not convenient. Be the voice for someone who is still finding her way. And when a young woman takes her first step into service, no matter what that service is, let her know that she is not walking alone. It's my last page. So I ask you, leave here committed to one act of support, one relationship strengthened, one leader encouraged, and one barrier removed. Let us continue building an Army and all military services and a nation where every woman who serves is seen, valued, and empowered to rise. I am so proud that I rose from the rank of private to general. Like my dear friend, my Sora and fellow veteran, Brigadier General Allison Solomon. She's Air Force. But she's my friend, and she's here. Thank you. God bless all of you, your families, and may God continue to always bless America. Thank you so much.
Thank you, General Cleckley, and congratulations. Brigadier General Ann McDonald graduated from West Point in 1980 in the first gender-integrated class in the Academy's history. A senior Army aviator, paratrooper, and air assault qualified officer, she flew UH-1 and UH-60 Black Hawk helicopters and became the first active component female Army aviator promoted to the rank of general officer. General McDonald's career spanned 31 years and 4 continents. She commanded a General Support Aviation Battalion in the 101st Airborne Division at Fort Campbell, commanded the 17th Aviation Brigade in the Republic of Korea, and served as Deputy Commanding General of 7th Infantry Division, responsible for the combat training and mobilization of all Army Reserve and National Guard units west of the Mississippi River. She completed combat tours in Operation Desert Storm and Operation Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan. She holds 3 degrees, including a master's in strategic studies from the Air War College. After retirement, she served as president of the U.S. Army Women's Foundation from 2016 to 24, a role she filled with the same excellence she brought to every uniform she ever wore. Please welcome Brigadier General retired Ann McDonald.
What an honor. Steps I'm still trying to fill and not very well. Congratulations. So very deserving. Well, I have to say it is great to be back on the U.S. Army Women's Foundation stage. Thank you so much. I am deeply honored by this recognition, and I'm humbled to be included among this year's extraordinary class of inductees. Thank you to the U.S. Army Women's Foundation, because I know how much work goes into setting something like this up, and this is beautiful. Well done. General Gainey, Board of Directors and Advisors, past and present, Fort Lee team, Beth Spitzley and Danielle Osbat, thank you for what you do every day to honor and empower and connect women soldiers and veterans. Here with me today is my husband, John, who is an incredible person, and I can't imagine going through life without you. Thank you. You'll love that. My youngest sister, Nell, who's standing in the back of the room. My older sisters who are watching on live stream. My cousins from Virginia. And as a surprise, my cousins who flew in unexpectedly from Colorado last evening. Classmates from the United States Military Academy, Kathy Gerstein, who is also my roommate. If you want to know any secrets, go to her. She's got them. Dan Gray, and I'm not sure that Sue Fulton joined us, but she should be here maybe a little bit later. Friends from the Association of the United States Army, Scott and Carrie. Friends from the Korean Defense Veterans Association, Erlene. And Colonel Jeff Prosch, who was one of our instructors at West Point back in 1976, and longtime advocate of women in the military. And of course, my dear friend and mentor, Lieutenant General Dick Formica. I am grateful to be here because I almost didn't make it to DC. My husband and I live in the United Arab Emirates. We're retired Army. We're combat veterans. For the past 9 days, we were living with drones and missiles. And it's very different when you're retired and when you're a civilian. Yet, being in that situation reminded me of what truly matters in our collective lives, and that's faith, family, friendships, community. Years ago, when I was stationed in Korea, I had the privilege of mentoring a number of young Korean soldiers, women who were just beginning their own journeys of service.
And one day, one of them asked me a question I've never forgotten. Ma'am, what does it feel like to be the first person to make footprints in the snow? What a beautiful question. Because anyone who's ever walked through fresh snow knows exactly what she meant. There's something almost sacred about it. The snow is quiet, untouched. It's exciting. You realize that you are the first to step there, the first to leave a mark, the first to step into territory that hasn't been walked before, the first to show that a path is possible. Those footprints matter. Yet what I've learned over the years is this: the footprints are never just about the person who makes them. They're also about the people who follow. In the Army, we don't go this way alone. We go together. We are shaped by our experiences and the people around us, strengthened by the camaraderie of soldiers, non-commissioned officers, warrant officers, and sustained by a community of family and friends. I know I would not be here today if it were not for the encouragement and example of countless women who made first footprints in the snow before me, and the scores of others who traveled along the way beside me. Those who have shown courage in the face of insurmountable odds. Those whose service has shaped our Army, whose leadership has strengthened our nation. Those who continue to inspire for the next generation of soldiers. Those who have opened doors that were closed, kept them open, and are keeping them opened still. And the beautiful thing is, many of those women are in this room right now. There's an African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Thank you for traveling the way with me through the snow, the sand, the mud, the grit. To the United States Army Women's Foundation, thank you for this wonderful recognition. It means so much to me. And truly, I cannot think of any better place to be than here right now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, General McDonald, and also welcome home. So glad you made it back safely. And congratulations, of course. Colonel Joanne Jolivet entered the Army through the Student Nurse Program, earning a Bachelor of Science in Nursing from Dillard University and a Master of Science in Nursing from the University of Maryland. Over a 20-year career as an Army nurse, she served across some of the Army's most prestigious medical institutions: Walter Reed Army Medical Center, Tripler Army Medical Center in Hawaii, and as chief nurse of the 43rd Mobile Army Surgical Hospital in South Korea. She rose to deputy commander for nursing at Fort Belvoir, and along the way earned the Legion of Merit, the Meritorious Service Medal with 2 oak leaf clusters, and the Order of Military Medical Merit. After retirement, Colonel Jolivet continued to lead. She became the first director of the National Civilian Community Corps in the North Atlantic region and devoted 8 years to directing the Nursing Student Enrichment Program at Coppin State University. The Baltimore Daily Record named her one of Maryland's top 100 women. The governor of Maryland honored her as an outstanding Marylander in military service. She is a woman of faith, a devoted mother and grandmother, and proof that service never stops. Please welcome Colonel Retired Joanne Jolivet.
I was looking to see what pictures you were going to. I had to go through trunks and pull out albums. I had put all of that stuff away. Good afternoon. Oh, it is beautiful to see so many of you that came out on this day. It was last night with the wind and the threatened tornado and the rain. I was up most of the night looking out the window saying, oh, will I be able to make it tomorrow? So thank God we did. Okay. I'd like to thank the Army Women's Foundation for considering me worthy of such an honor. And thanks to all of you who are here to celebrate with us and validate the contributions of women soldiers. I'm using the word soldier because in the past few days I've heard about the 6888 and other women who were first in their field in the military, and they weren't considered soldiers, or they knew they were soldiers, but line officers didn't consider them as soldiers. And that reminded me, I think my friend, Lieutenant Colonel retired, Dr. Nancy Chapman is here. Where are you, Nancy? Oh, okay. See Nancy? I think Nancy's about 5 feet tall. And she was commander of the ambulance company at the 43rd MASH unit in Agenry, Korea. And one day, we were having dinner. The officers would go to the officers' club for dinner. And we noticed that the units had something on their table that represented their unit, and we didn't have anything. So Nancy said, I have an ambulance. And the next day, we had an ambulance on our table, and we were feeling so proud. And a line officer walked by, looked at us, and said, you're not soldiers. I was a major at the time, and I was the ranking officer at the table. So everyone's looking at me, and I said, well, I've got to do something. So I walked over, and I said, excuse me, soldier, but if you get a bullet in a certain part of your anatomy, I bet you call medic before you call infantry. So that put an end to that. My grandmother always told me to nip things in the bud. Yeah. So we had a great tour and made a great friend. As I listened to the reading of my curriculum vitae, I thought, did I do that? And then I remembered the iconic catchphrase of Steve Urkel. And well, you know what he said? He said, did I do that? And I said, yes, I did. However, my sense of accomplishment and qualifications come from what those I trained, I worked with, I mentored, accomplished. For example, when a junior officer called me on my day off on a Sunday evening and told me what was going on the unit, and then said, oh, ma'am, I'm not calling you to ask you what to do. I'm calling to tell you what I did. And that made me feel so good, because I never felt or I never appreciated when someone said, you weren't here, so things didn't go right. Things are supposed to go better when I'm not there. So that really brought joy to my heart. And I also, everybody knew me that my motto was to leave the military with more than you came in with, and to always keep learning. So when an enlisted soldier thanked me for encouraging him to enroll in college courses offered on post, to persevere and obtain a college college degree or a specialty certification, and he told me that what he achieved prepared him for the civilian world after military. So what I have achieved is due to the encouragement, mentorship, and potential that was seen in me by senior officers. Now, I came into the military through the Army Student Nurse Program. And I guess that would be, in a way, similar to the scholarship program that you have. I saw an Army recruiter on campus and learned that the Army was paying nurses pursuing a BS degree to go to school. And after you graduated and achieved your licensure, you would spend 3 years in the Army. I didn't think that was bad, so okay, I'll go. My first assignment was Fort Polk, Louisiana. What did you say? But that taught me humility. Yes, we lived in what was called cantonment buildings and such. Okay. And then, though, the Army sent me to Hawaii, Honolulu. I had 2 more years to give them, and I had it all planned out. I was going to give the Army 3 years, do my very best, and then I was gone. I had other plans. Well, I was not going, my boss was a colonel, and I wasn't going to stay in the Army until I got to be that old. You know, when you're 22 years old, everybody's old to you. But when I walked into her office, she said to me, "You've been a good soldier. What will it take to keep you in the military?" And I thought about it. And I told her, and she told me, "I can make that happen." And I thought, maybe I need to give that another thought. I should stay in the Army until I get to be a colonel, and then I can help someone else along their career. So here I am today. I appreciate this award, but I share it with those that mentored me. There was a chief nurse, as I just said, at Triple Army Medical Center that talked me into, well, she didn't have to talk very much, but encouraged me to stay in the military. And I went to Fort Meade, and there was a nurse there that gave me a leadership position as a training nurse. And I kept saying, oh, okay, I can do that. And then I went to Walter Reed. Colonel Audrey McLaughlin kept challenging me with more assigned duties. And I said, okay, I can do that, and I can help someone along the way also to do that. General Connie Sluiski, Chief Nurse, Army Nurse Corps, assigned me to the 43rd MASH. Actually, I was assigned to the hospital in Seoul, and when I got there, my two predecessors had been relieved, so I was sent to the 43rd. And that was a very rewarding career. I could march, I could salute, and I could shoot. At least I thought they were going to let me shoot, but they didn't. They wouldn't assign me a gun. But I had been in ROTC at Cashmere Gardens High School in Houston, Texas, and I was on the girls' rifle team. But I enjoyed that. I'd like to thank also Joan Clara Adams Ender, for I was always saying, thank you, ma'am, for the opportunity to excel. And if she was here today, she would probably laugh, because she gave me the opportunity to work with reservists and to work with ROTC cadets that spent their summer at Walter Reed Army Medical Center. She called me one day and she said, Colonel Jolivet, I'm supposed to go on the weekend and pass out some diplomas, but I've been called on another duty. Will you go for me? And I said, yes, ma'am. I definitely will. That was on a Thursday. On Friday, I discovered that she wasn't only passing out diplomas, she was the keynote speaker. I did it. And that was an opportunity to excel. So I would like to thank those individuals for challenging me to get me out of my comfort zone. And I'd like to also thank Captain Robert Reynolds, I met at Fort Polk, who took it upon himself to be a big brother, a guide, and a teacher. I'd like to thank the late Colonel Robert Koob at Shafter in Honolulu, Hawaii, who taught me how to present myself and what to do when you've been AWOL. That you just don't send. If you want to stay a few extra days, you don't just send a telegram to the company. So I made it through that. Thank you for presenting me this opportunity to address this wonderful group and to thank you. But I'd also like to thank those that have supported me throughout my career. I'd like to thank my sorority sisters of Alpha Kappa Alpha that are here. Raise your hand. Okay. My church members, Union Baptist Church, my extended family, my sister-in-law, my brother-in-law, and their daughter Tina, my nephew, Leon. My sister-in-law has served in the military vicariously through me and has made it her mission to support women in the military and female veterans. And she has also made it her mission to ensure that their history doesn't fade. But most of all, I'd like to thank my family, my late husband, Arnold, who didn't serve in the Army, but loved the military and held down the fort when I was away. My son, Arnold, stand up. Who didn't mind as a little boy being told, your mother wears combat boots. My brothers, Danville Jr., who served in the Air Force, and my older brother, Arthur, who served in the Air Force. Arthur is deceased, but his daughter is here. Will you stand? Heidi? Okay. Thank you again. And I'd like to also thank my two heartbeats who are not here. My grandson, Isaiah, and my granddaughter, Maya, who's studying this semester in Nice, France. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much, Colonel Jolivet, and congratulations. Colonel Deborah Thedford commissioned through ROTC at Jackson State University in 1981 as a chemical corps officer, and for the next 27 years, she led with distinction in one of the Army's most demanding and consequential specialties. Her firsts are historic. In 1985, she became the first African-American woman to command a forwardly deployed chemical company. In 2003, she became the first African-American woman promoted to colonel in the active Army Chemical Corps. She commanded the Pine Bluff chemical activity, responsible for the safe storage of the nation's second largest stockpile of chemical agents. She served as a technical advisor in weapons of mass destruction at the Joint Staff, and ultimately served as Director of Chemical Biological Programs in the Office of the Secretary of Defense, shaping the non-medical CBRNE portfolio that protects warfighters in contaminated environments. Since retirement, she has continued to serve at Aberdeen Proving Guard as Associate Director for Strategic Initiatives and has mentored generations of soldiers and civilians. She is a Legion of Merit recipient, a Master Black Belt, and an enduring example of what it means to pioneer with purpose. Please welcome Colonel Retired Deborah A. Thedford.
Thank you very much. To whom much is given, much is required, and even more. Good afternoon, distinguished guests, family, friends, and the Army's Women's Foundation Hall of Fame inductees, present and past. Today, this room is filled with greatness. Greatness requires much, and I'm certain you understand that. I'm honored, truly honored, to be here today. I thank God for his recognition and all the good things that he's done for me. To the Army's Women's Foundation, thank you for this award. Colonel Retired Doreen Hurt, it means so much for me that you took the time to nominate me, to put your character out there to support me, and it's also an honor to the committee that also selected me for membership as well. I'm humbled to receive this award. As I look around in the room, I see women who broke barriers, shattered glass ceilings, and paved the way for future generations. As I stand here today, I'm reminded of the journey that brought me to this point. It all began in Lauderdale County, Mississippi, in a home filled with faith, love, and laughter. It was led by a very strong woman, my mother, who instilled in her 4 daughters that there was nothing that could not be achieved. And I am blessed today to have in this audience my 2 younger sisters, Doris and Cynthia. Wave your hands. They traveled here from North Charleston, South Carolina. They made it through the storm last night from North Charleston, South Carolina. My sister Diane is in heaven with my parents. We also have my mother. You know, she was very strong. The leadership didn't stop here with us. She has with her grandchildren. I have also my niece, my 3 nieces, which is Tanaka and Bianca. They are virtually, and also have my youngest niece here with me, and that is Bianca. And I have a special note to my sisters. I just wanted to thank them because they gave me my first shot at being a platoon leader. Now, on a more serious note, my mother's strong leadership did not stop with us. You know, it was all extended. We talked to the grandkids and everything. But as I began, that was kind of our family. So I have quite a few family that are online, that are in virtually all across the country and everything. And I don't want to forget about my brother Charles and my sister-in-law Barbara and a lot of cousins, nieces, aunts. We have a big family. And to say thank you for those. And so family, your presence means everything to me. And all that I am and I hope to be, I owe it to my family because they've been there supporting me throughout. We started with very humble beginnings, and we're very proud as a family where we are today. Now, I would like to tell my story. The foundation here has been laid. As I told you, I first started in my military service, and when I really began was pretty much in Navy ROTC, not in the Army. It was the Navy ROTC at Northeast Lauderdale High School. After that, I enrolled in Tougaloo College. My interest in the military peaked at that point. In my sophomore year, as you saw previously there, I crossed-enrolled. We did not have a program, so I crossed-enrolled at Jackson State University in the Army's ROTC program there. Upon graduation, I was commissioned in the U.S. Army Chemical Corps. And just to put everything in perspective, you know, they give you 3 choices in ROTC, what do you want to serve? Well, Chemical Corps was my 3rd choice. However, that was the best choice for me, and so I really appreciate them, the Army, selecting the right thing where I needed to be. So I've served 27 plus years in the Chemical Corps, and I'm very proud of those years. During those years, I had the opportunity to serve at multiple operational and staff assignments. You know, I've served abroad, Korea, you know, in Europe, other places as well. On all the Joint Staff, the Army staff, the Secretary of Defense staff at that time. I had the opportunity to serve with some of the best soldiers, non-commissioned officers, warrant officers, commissioned officers, civilians, and sister service members. What an awesome way to travel and see the world. The world promised, the Army promised, and they certainly delivered on that promise. I began volunteering. After I retired from the military after 27 plus years, I began volunteering. But that basis of volunteering started with my mother. My mother really believed in giving back and bringing up the next generation and helping them out. So I began volunteering alongside of my mother at a very early age. All of us, we was drug everywhere. We're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do this on this day, we're going to volunteer here, we're going to do this with the church, and it was all great. She emphasized that it was important to give back through service, commitment, and serving. Hard work and the Army went hand in hand for me. The words my mother would speak, it would always ring in my ear, and it would ring to me today. And she was always said, she didn't allow anyone else to call me that, but my immediate family. She would say, Debbie, there's nothing that you can't achieve without the right attitude and hard work. And I would always remember that. Now, she would tell everybody else, I named her Deborah, and that's what you're supposed to call her. And at that time, you know, I've learned how to become and be a servant leader. I knew that this beginning excuse me, I knew that from the beginning that I had come to serve and not to be served. I had come to serve and not to be served. My service was not only that for working for soldiers, also was very committed to serving within my communities, by doing volunteer work, mentoring, coaching, teaching, youth, teens, other service members. Anywhere I could always help, I was always trying to do that because that was instilled with me at a very early age. And I also, as I would go across all the different places, I would serve faithfully in the churches where I was signed. But I also want to take just a moment to recognize some of those, just 3 of those organizations that gave me the opportunity to serve. Mount Zion Baptist Church, wave your hand. I know there's 1 or 2 members from there. Okay, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Rocks Incorporated. And the Top Ladies of Distinction Incorporated. Okay, so I was able to continue to do service within the community because the service commitment aligned with what I was doing as well. I'm reminded that there is no I in teams. I didn't get to this point alone, and now I want to give a shout out to my village. So there's quite a few people, quite a few names I need to call, but I won't do that. So if you would just either stand or wave your hand if you're part of that village. And so this village, the people that was in this village, you taught me the values of friendships, relationships, and you also carried me out through my journey. You stood with me, you counseled me, you laughed with me, you traveled with me, you just loved me unconditionally. And that also includes the whole back row over there from my current organization, the Combat Capabilities Development Command, Aberdeen Proving Ground. Okay, and thank you for making that trip down. I appreciate that. And so in closing, to my fellow colleagues, men and women, you rock. And for the young people, you are fire. Lean on each other, trust one another, and never forget the power that lies within you. And to all the women who followed in my footsteps, I say, the world needs strong women, women who have fire in their souls and a purpose in their hearts, women who lift as they climb. Let us continue to lift as we climb, to support one another, and to inspire greatness in those who follow. Again, thank you for this recognition. May God bless each of you richly. Thank you.
Congratulations, Colonel Thedford, and thank you for those remarks. Chief Warrant Officer 5, Candace Martin, known to those who love her as Candy, enlisted in the Women's Army Corps in 1975 and served for more than 38 remarkable years. She rose from enlisted soldier to master sergeant before earning her warrant officer appointment in 1991 and ultimately retired in 2013 as one of the Army's most distinguished logistics officers. She served at every level, company, battalion, brigade, division, and theater, and deployed to Iraq from 2005 to 2006 as the theater property book officer. Her career culminated as the warrant officer proponent in the Officer of the Quartermaster General at Fort Lee. Her awards include the Legion of Merit and the Bronze Star. She is a member of the Quartermaster Corps Hall of Fame, a recipient of the Ancient Order of St. Martin, and is the 2023 Pritzker Military Museum and Library Citizen Soldier Award recipient. Beyond her service record, Candy is a Gold Star mother. Her son, Tom, a West Point graduate, was killed in Iraq in 2007. She has channeled that loss into fierce, tireless advocacy, serving as past national president of American Gold Star Mothers and chair of Gold Star Families of Texas. She is a mother, a warrior, and a force of grace. Please welcome Chief Warrant Officer 5, retired Candace Martin.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm humbled by all the people that are here today. I'm humbled by this recognition, and thank you to the Army Women's Foundation, not only for today, but for all that you have done for so many women, with the recognition of those, the Hall of Fame, the champions, and the scholarships that you continue to give and continue to recognize. I would be remiss if I didn't thank my dear battle buddy friend, CWF retired Phyllis Wilson. Phyllis is the one who nominated me to be into the Hall of Fame, and for that, Phyllis and I, we've been battle buddies for years, and we continue and continue and continue. When I think about the Army Women's Foundation, I think about the service, many, many years of service, not only military service, but I think about the service that continues after we take off those boots. And for that, I am most proud that I continue to serve. I didn't come by it all by myself. One of my earliest recollections is when I was a little bitty girl, my dad, who had served in World War II, and he was also a Korea War veteran, I can remember him, I might have been about 3 years old, him teaching me how to spit shine boots. Because he was a member of the South Dakota National Guard after those 2 conflicts that he had served in. And I can remember him taking that cotton ball and spinning that cotton ball, getting just a little bit wet, and dipping into the water well, and it worked every time. It was amazing. Never did I ever think that I wanted to go into the military, but I always knew that I wanted to serve. 1975, it was still a segregated Army, the Army Women's Corps. And when I tell people today that I was a member of the WAC, they look at me like, what's that? Never heard of it. So for that, I'm very, very proud. I'm proud of that service, but it doesn't, like I say, it doesn't come alone. I also am very proud daughter of the American Revolution. So my lineage goes way back to the 1700s, and we know that we can trace back every generation on my father's side and every generation on my mother's side that goes way back. So it's really fabulous. I'm proud of my husband. I wouldn't be here today. We wouldn't have a Candy Martin standing here if it weren't for my husband, Sergeant Major retired Ed Martin. Half of this is yours, honey. Thank you for being here. From listening to my bio, you learned that I'm a Gold Star mother. Our only son was killed in Iraq in 2007. He left a lot of hearts broken, and one of those hearts is with us today, too. I call her my almost daughter-in-law, Erica Noyes. She's a lieutenant colonel promotable, going to be promoted to colonel in July, and Erica is with my almost son-in-law, Greg Halonia. Greg is a lieutenant colonel, and they're both stationed here in the Military District of Washington area, so thank you for being my family today, too, and forever. I love you. When I also think about service outside the uniform, I think of our 3 daughters. They didn't serve in the military, but they've done fabulous things. One of them was in the Peace Corps. She's now with the State Department, stationed as a medical officer in the country of Mauritania, Africa. I had to look that up, too, to see where it was. The oldest and youngest daughters, they continue with community service in their jobs and what they do, and we're so incredibly proud of everything they do. But probably the most proudest that I am this week, we just learned 2 days ago that our grandson, Colt, has accepted an appointment to the United States Naval Academy, and he will, I guess I'm going to become a Navy grandma. Service does continue. When I think about stories of service, I often think back to our late son, and I want to tell you a story about a conversation. It was just between a mom and a son. I had been home from Iraq for about, maybe not quite a year. Well, actually, I had only been home from Iraq for about 6 weeks when our son was deployed. Tom was a young lieutenant. He came home on R&R leave, mid-tour leave, in April of 2007. That morning of April 17th, Tom and I were sitting in the kitchen having coffee, just talking mom stuff, son stuff. And I was telling him all the reasons why I hated for him to go back to Iraq, that he was doing things and seeing things that no mother ever wished that their child ever did. And the banter went back and forth, and it was things like, Tom, I don't want you to go back. I know, but I'm on foot patrol. It's the ones that are in the vehicles that we're losing to the IEDs. I know, but. And then he would say, but Mom, sadly, we're losing the young enlisted. We're not losing the officers. And he was a first lieutenant at that time. So I'm going to be okay. I'll be home. And the banter, it went back and forth. And finally, he looked at me and he said, Mom, it's what we do. I just looked at him and I said, you're not playing fair. How can I argue with that? Truly, it was really what we do. And when you think about each and every person that is recognized today, recognized in the years prior, it's what we do. And we as Army women, I'm proud to be here with all of you, and those who have come before and those in future years. Just remember, it's what we do. Thank you.
Chief Martin, congratulations, and thank you so much for sharing your story with us. Major Isabel Kane Bradley was born in 1910 in Tacoma, Washington, and from the beginning, she was someone who refused to believe that anything was impossible. As a teenager, she was one of only 2 Girl Scouts to summit Mount Rainier. She went on to earn degrees from the University of Washington and UC Berkeley, building a career in education before the attack on Pearl Harbor changed everything. In 1942, she joined the newly formed Women's Army Auxiliary Corps and became Washington State's first WAC officer. She rose in position rapidly, and on July 14, 1944, as commanding officer, she led the first WAC detachment to land on the European continent, coming ashore at Utah Beach in Normandy just weeks after D-Day. She commanded the WAC communications and logistics units in France and oversaw their relocation to Paris after liberation. She was awarded 2 bronze stars for her campaigns, bronze service stars, for her campaigns in Normandy and northern France, and was later promoted to major. After the war, she returned to teaching and raised her family, quietly carrying the weight of history she had helped make. Major Isabel Kane Bradley passed away in 1987. We are honored to induct her today posthumously into the Hall of Fame she always deserved. Accepting this honor on her behalf is Major Bradley's daughter, Patricia Bradley. Please welcome Patricia to the stage.
Good afternoon. On behalf of my mother, Major Isabel Kane Bradley, I am deeply honored to accept her induction into the U.S. Army Women's Foundation Hall of Fame. She would have been so pleased and proud to receive this award and to know that her service continues to be remembered. In July 1942, after completing a highly competitive application process, Isabel Kane was accepted into the newly created Women's Army Auxiliary Corps and joined the first WAC Officer Candidate School at Fort Des Moines in Des Moines, Iowa. With the war becoming more critical, this was her opportunity to, in her words, do something to speed up victory and be of as much service as possible. 2 years later, in July 1944, she was Captain Kane, the 33-year-old commanding officer of the 1st WAC detachment, 49 enlisted women and 5 officers, to land in Normandy on Utah Beach. She later described the moment in her diary, writing, "Our hearts were in our mouths, for at last we were to see and feel the soil of France. No one felt the weight of the pack. No one spoke. Everything was calm. We were here in France on the 14th of July, Bastille Day, just 38 days after the historic D-Day. Throughout her 3.5 years of service, she proved herself to be fearless in the face of the unknown, supremely confident in her abilities and in those of the courageous women who served with her, and a natural leader, highly regarded by those who knew her. She possessed boundless energy and a deep, abiding faith. Above all, she remained steadfast in her commitment to serving her country until the war ended and the long-awaited victory over fascism was won. My mother was very proud to have been among the first WACs, proud of her direct promotion to captain, and proud to have been the commanding officer of the WACs of the Forward Echelon Communications Zone in Normandy. She understood she was living at a turning point in history, and the WACs were a vital part of it. She preserved her experiences in the many letters she wrote home to her family, in photographs taken with her Brownie camera, and especially in this, her treasured diary, my book, From the Buzz Bombs of London to the Apple Orchards of Normandy to the Streets of Paris. In her own way, she contributed to the recognition of the pivotal role the Women's Army Corps played in World War II. We, her family, are proud and privileged to carry on her legacy. In closing, I would like to recall the words of Director Oveta Kulp-Hobby in her first meeting at Fort Des Moines with those first 440 WAC officer candidates, one of whom was my mother. That they were the first women to serve with the United States Army, that they had a debt to democracy and a date with destiny, that the military reputation and civilian recognition of the WAC rested on their shoulders, and that they were an example to the world of free women defending freedom. Thank you for honoring Major Isabel Kane Bradley today and for ensuring her story and the stories of the women who served alongside her continue to be told.
Thank you so much, Patricia. And to all of the Hall of Fame inductees, thank you so much for sharing your stories. I know that I am inspired by those first steps in the snow and in the sand and on the soil of France. Really, let's give them one more round of applause. The Special Recognition of Champions Award honors individuals and organizations who have championed the cause of Army women through advocacy, education, service, and unwavering commitment. Shelby Anderson is a high school history teacher, doctoral student, and living history reenactor whose mission is simple but powerful: to ensure that the women who serve this nation in uniform are never forgotten. Through her published curriculum with the National World War II Museum, her teacher training programs, and her immersive reenactments portraying real women veterans in period uniform, she has reached educators and audiences across the country. She has appeared on the History Channel's Modern Marvels, received a certificate of congressional recognition, and won the California Teachers Association Human Rights Award for Women's Advocacy. Shelby Anderson cannot be here with us today in person, but she sends her heartfelt thanks to the Foundation for this honor.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Shelby Anderson, and I am incredibly grateful to receive the Army Women's Foundation Champions Award. I wanted to start off by saying that while I may have been awarded, I would like to dedicate this award to the women in the armed forces who have come before me. While I may not have personally served in the military, I have had the privilege to teach students about the significant contributions of women in the military during World War II and beyond. I've had the opportunity to create high school level curriculum that highlights the stories of 5 women who served during World War II, specifically women of the Women's Army Corps, the Waves, Army Nurse Corps, Marine Corps Women's Reserve, and our often too forgotten our Women's Air Service pilots. However, I could not have had the opportunity to create this curriculum if it was not for the brave women, like many in this room, who broke barriers, challenge preconceived notions, and prove just how capable women are. When I began designing these lessons, my goal was simple: to make sure my students understood the stories of our nation's defense is not complete without the stories of women. Too often, their service has been summarized into a paragraph, a photograph, or a footnote. But when my students learn about the hardships, the triumphs, and the achievements of women who answer the call, something changes. History becomes personal, service becomes visible, and sacrifices become better understood. My students are often surprised to learn just how much these women accomplished despite limited recognition, unequal pay, racial prejudice, and restricted opportunities. They are inspired by many of the members of the Women's Army Corps who stepped into roles previously closed to them, by the WAVES who supported the naval operations across the globe, by the Marine Corps Women's Reserve who answered the call when their country needed them most. Through their stories and your stories, my students begin to understand that courage is not defined by gender and leadership is not defined by expectation. This award, to me, represents more than recognition. It represents responsibility. The responsibility to continue telling these stories accurately, respectfully, and passionately. It reminds me that education is one of the most powerful ways that we can honor service. When we teach the next generation about the resilience and determination of military women, we ensure that their legacy is not forgotten. To the women in this room who have served, thank you. Thank you for your sacrifice, your perseverance, and your example. Because of you, I am able to stand in a classroom and show young people what strength looks like. Because of you, my students can see that history is shaped by those willing to step forward, even when the path is not yet clear. I'm deeply honored to accept this award, and I do so with immense gratitude and humility. I promise to continue using my voice and my classroom to amplify yours. Thank you.
Charlene Austin has spent nearly 4 decades as a servant leader within the military community. As a military spouse, advocate, and connector of families to the resources they need. Throughout years of frequent moves and deployments alongside her husband, former Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin, she worked at every level, installation, national, and nonprofit, to address spouse employment, mental health access, caregiver support, and community resilience. She has consistently brought the voice of military families into rooms where policy is made, ensuring their lived experiences drive real solutions. Her legacy is measured not in titles, but in the stronger networks and more resilient families that exist because she showed up. Please welcome Charlene Austin.
Oh my goodness. I have a few short remarks I'd like to make. First of all, this is going to be difficult.
Do you want
Yes, I'd like to have a podium, please. Okay, all right.
I can take that one.
All right, thank you. I am genuinely humbled to stand here today as a champion inductee to the Army Women's Foundation Hall of Fame. To be recognized by an organization that has done so much to preserve our history and advance the success of Army women is truly an honor. This is both a privilege and profound blessing, so thank you so much. This honor reflects not just my own journey, but the journeys of countless women whose strength, mentorship, and friendship shaped my life. My journey and those experiences have changed me. They taught me that service is not always loud. It is found in preparation, in listening, in choosing responsibility, even when it is inconvenient or invisible. It is deeply personal. Much of my connection to the military came from my husband's 45 years of service. particularly during his time as Secretary of Defense. That role brought visibility, responsibility, and meetings with political leaders and organizations that I found focused on the empowerment, support, and enhancement of the lives of Army families and military members. It also brought me into close contact with the realities of military life that rarely appear in formal briefings or public remarks. I have met military members and spouses not only in a ceremonial setting, but in moments of honesty, when they spoke about fear, exhaustion, pride, and resilience. I listened as women described balancing career and command, motherhood, caregiving, or the quiet loneliness that can come with constant relocation and separation. I watched them carry themselves with grace and professionalism, even when the weight they carried was far heavier than anyone could see. The strength of our Army comes not from titles alone. It comes from people, especially women who lead without needing recognition, who adapt without complaint, and who keep showing up even when the path forward is unclear. Additionally, being inducted into the Army Women's Foundation Hall of Fame is meaningful to me because this organization understands that progress does not happen by accident. It happens because women before them insisted on excellence, even when excellence was not enough to guarantee acceptance. To those women, many of whom are represented in this room, I owe more than I can express. Your leadership, patience, unwillingness to give up made space for others to follow. And I'd also like to thank my family. A life connected to public service is rarely predictable, and it is never solitary. Their support grounded me, reminded me of what mattered most, and allowed me to engage fully in responsibilities and opportunities that came my way. This induction has renewed my commitment to stand alongside the women of the Army, past, present, and future. Thank you for this honor. Thank you for your trust, and thank you for ensuring that women's service is not only etched in America's history, but remembered and always and forever respected. Thank you. I'd like to give 2 shout-outs because I heard these earlier. First of all, I'd like to give a shout-out to my Delta sisters who are in the room. Happy Sisterhood Month. Hey! And also, happy Women's History Month to each and every one of you. Thank you so much.
Congratulations, and thank you for those wonderful remarks. Now, Delegate Jackie Hope Glass enlisted in the U.S. Navy in 2002, deployed aboard the USS Nimitz in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom and Operation Enduring Freedom, and rose to earn 2 Instructor of the Year awards as a Master Training Specialist at the Center for Information Dominance. After her service, she continued advocating for sailors and military families as an instructional systems designer for fleet and family support services. Today, she serves as the state delegate for the 93rd District in the Virginia House of Delegates, bringing her operational discipline and people-first philosophy to public policy on behalf of military families and working Virginians. Delegate Glass cannot join us in person today, but we are honored to recognize her commitment and her service.
Hey everyone, I am so deeply apologetic that I am unable to be with you and celebrate this momentous occasion with you, but I am also deeply honored and grateful to be nominated, considered as a champion, especially among all of you. I know as a woman veteran, we're not always looking for accolades, but we're looking to be seen. And seen for the hard work, seen for the things that, for the exchange of trauma for change, for showing up. And I want to thank all of you and congratulate all the other nominees and award recipients, and say a special thanks to Liz for always reminding me that even the smallest things that lead to big change mean something. Value you all, gratitude. I hope you're able to make it a great day, and hopefully I'll finish session in 2 days, and maybe I'll get to put my arms around some folks. All right, be well, gratitude.
Now, Master Sergeant Joanne Orr enlisted in 1975 to provide care for her son who suffered from sickle cell disease. She served 24 years as a quartermaster NCO, deployed in Desert Storm, and retired in 1999, and then somehow found a way to even give more. For the past 2 decades, she has delivered Meals on Wheels twice weekly, advocated for veterans and sickle cell patients in Louisville, Kentucky, helped open transition housing for women veterans, helped establish Kentucky's first dedicated sickle cell treatment center, organized the identification of over 1,600 enslaved individuals buried in unmarked graves, and was inducted into the Kentucky Veteran Hall of Fame. She was named the 2022 Kentucky Woman Veteran of the Year. She is the living definition of service above self. Please welcome Master Sergeant Retired Joanne Orr.
Well, y'all, if all else don't fail, how you get to be last in a program? I mean, really, what do you do? Okay. Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Joanne Orr. Oh, Lord, I lived a life in the Army. My mother was in the Army. And our duty roster was changed every Sunday and put with a magnet on the refrigerator door. So when she got home at 5 o'clock, you don't ask me what you were supposed to do. Just take care of it. I do 25. Because she would do you a push-up in the middle of church. But as she spoke of earlier, my reasoning for going into the military was my son. My son was born with sickle cell disease in a state that didn't treat the disease. Lifespan was 8, and he was 7. I had a husband who spent his time in the Marines. I gotta tell y'all, he went to Vietnam 3 times. 3 times he got shot, 3 times they sent him back. So his mental state, while his physical state was fine, his mental state was shaky all the time. He was still calling in incoming at 2 in the morning, and I know this don't look like the jungle, and if you wake me up one more time and I got to go to work tomorrow, we'll have a problem, okay? But I went active, and ladies, for those of us that's been around a while, I have to let you know, I was originally in the reserves before going active duty. How surprised was I when they told me I had to get my husband's permission? as an E7 in the United States Army Reserve to go active duty. Yeah, so I just took the page, went out my car and signed it. And took it back because you don't know my husband. Okay. So from there, I'm quartermaster NCO. I was combat support. I spent a lot of times in the woods. I stayed in the 197th Infantry Brigade, Fort Hood, Texas, Fort Stewart, Georgia. If you can find any more, that godforsaken place down in Louisiana. Okay, where they have gators that come up in your yard and eat your dogs. Okay, I spent time in those places too. 7 years in Korea. The only place I could go because when you have a child with my condition, you couldn't be sent out of country more than a year. So every 18 months or so, I got to walk the border on Camp Casey with a gun and a dog and all the other things that go with wearing the uniform. But I enjoyed what I did to the day I left. I was the advanced party, quartermaster NCO for Desert Storm, Desert Shield. I got there 6 weeks before they did. Didn't know why I was there. Had just walked out of Korea. My son had passed 2 months earlier. It was a blessing. It took me a minute to understand. But the Lord wasn't ready for me to sit down and sulk. He had something else for me to do. So he gave me a whole lot of other people's children to take care of. So we set up for 91,000 soldiers to hit the ground in Saudi Arabia. So packed them all up and brought them home. And that was the name of the job. So I survived that, made it through to retirement. And then I got this little letter that said that I was unemployable. Huh? I did all that, got a master's degree, and I can't get a job? What is wrong with this picture? However, I can do 80 hours of volunteer work, but I can't have a 40-hour job. Like volunteering ain't work. Okay? So now we really get to work. Set up to start sickle cell clinics in Kentucky, mainly because even 25 years later, they still weren't treating sickle cell. And by that time, my son had passed. So I had to do something for him. So I owed him that. And I owed every family that served in the military. You'd be surprised how many people in the military had children suffering from sickle cell disease with nowhere to go and nobody to talk to. So I traveled a little bit to a lot of military facilities, especially Air Force bases, to explain to them exactly how that's supposed to work. And it just made it easier all the way around for the people that had to deal with them. So with that, I went to seniors when I got all that straightened out. I started working with senior vets, Meals on Wheels, getting folks' houses fixed, putting in handicap ramps. Just the things that people don't really think about until you're just in a position to have one, okay? And there's no place that'll get it, and you don't have the money to pay for it. Well, baby, you spent your time. And somebody sent Master Sergeant Orr, and yeah, they gave me that title as Hellraiser, but it worked. And if I showed up in uniform, they knew I came to fight, so they just give it to me just to get me out of office. But it worked, okay? And we spoke of that now. My biggest thing going on the last 3 years was we are going through slave cemeteries, doing the research. The one we just finished, they had 691 graves with the ground tool the University of Louisville has. We found 1,633 people buried in those 600 graves. 18 of them are Civil War veterans. Next week, I get my tombstones. For every one of those veterans, we will give them their final respectful moment as members of the United States military. They were all Buffalo soldiers, 101st Colored Troops, or the 107th. And I assure you, they will all be represented to include the governor of the state of Kentucky at the ceremony. So I'm looking very forward to that. Women veterans, my heart. There's so much that we need. There's so much that hasn't been done. In Kentucky, we have nothing for women veterans. We don't have a senior facility, a homeless shelter, but we have Joanne in the party zone. And you just gave me a little more clout than I had before I left home. So there, we are on. I try and make sure that they get out and collect on their benefits. A lot of them don't believe that if they didn't go to war or they wasn't injured, that they have nothing coming from the federal government. If you have an honorable discharge, we need to talk. And I have found a lot. 81-year-olds, been homeless 30 years, served 11 years in the United States Navy. And she was actually released because she developed diabetes, but she wasn't released with medical. And how did that work? So there's a lot to be done. And right now, I'm up for it. Keeps me out of trouble. And I got me a nice shirt from John Lewis that says, "Good trouble." I always put the Army symbol on the front, just in case. I put "Good trouble" across the back. Okay. But thank you so very much for this. I was raised by two very, very, very strong women, one of them being my mother, who was in the Army. She served in the 6th AAA, but she didn't deploy with them. And her motto was giving back. You were always giving back. And I think I said one of us that started volunteering before they could walk. I was one of those. You volunteering somewhere, you're not hanging out in the streets, we're not having that. So I started volunteering early. My mother's thing was to give back. My aunt, who stood 4'11" from Springfield, Kentucky, with a real bad attitude, never married, had a motto that said, "Pay forward." If you expect someone to be there for you, don't sit there and think it's going to happen by itself. If you haven't given, don't expect to get. So pay forward. And my blessing today is I have two of my sisters with me. I got one missing, and my niece Kenyatta. So this blessing today from the Army Women's Foundation is truly a blessing. And as I said, y'all gave me clout because them folks, for what I need in Kentucky, for my women veterans are getting ready to get the blues, professional blues. I got the Kentucky Hall of Fame. Yeah, but now I got some clout. So we're gonna throw the rest of the whole women's military, and all of them are weapons trained. Okay? But my blessing today was you, and for giving back and paying forward, the day the Lord sent me you, and I thank you so very much. You have a good day. This way.
Thank you, Master Sergeant Orr, and to all of the champions, thank you for what you do for our military and veteran community, past, present, and future. And with that, how about one more round of applause for our champions? Oh, I'm so sorry. And we have one more. So sorry. Yes. The National Montford Point Marines Association. I apologize for that. Yes, thank you. Las Vegas Hicks Chapter 46 was established in 2022 to perpetuate the legacy of the first African Americans to serve in the United States Marine Corps. Men who trained at the segregated Montford Point Camp in North Carolina between 1942 and 1949. Chapter 46 has presented the Congressional gold medal to surviving Montford Point Marines and their families, placed permanent highway markers in Nevada honoring World War II veterans, established the Lena King Woman Warrior Ward, and hosted community viewings of the 688 film to honor the 688th Battalion. They serve veterans, honor history, and remind us all that the fight for the right to serve was itself an act of extraordinary courage. Please welcome the representative of the Montford Point Marine Association, Chapter 46.
Good afternoon, everybody. You almost tried to forget me, didn't you?
It's completely on me.
I am completely humbled to be in this room with not only warriors, but women warriors. In case we don't know, fellas, women rule the world. If we acknowledge it and get out of the way, we'll be okay. General Austin, thank you, sir. I am here with an original Montford Point Marine. Sir, would you stand up, please? The Washington, D.C. chapter. Eugene Groves was one of the men who paved the way for the first black men to serve in the United States Marine Corps. Before 1942, there were no black United States Marines, period. Last military service to integrate. Now, what does that mean? It reminds me of the stories that were shared by the women who came up here to receive their awards. Some of the stories are quite similar. One of the greatest things that we have as an organization of legacy veterans is that we tell the story, and not only of our own service, we tell the story for everybody. Hence, we found out about Mrs. King. We knew some of the story of the 6888. Some of us knew more than others. But after we studied and found out more about it and had an opportunity to serve, I have served, I will be of service. We had the privilege of standing guard at her memorial service. We had the privilege of making sure that her legacy, along with our original Montford Point Marine, Mr. Henry Jackson, who is 100 years old and still alive in Vegas, by the way, to pay homage. We cannot forget. We will not forget. We will not let anybody else forget. DEI be damned. We know what it takes. We know what the black men went through. We know what the women went through. This is the legacy that we have to make sure that the streets are paved with the truth. We have to make sure that we continue to serve those who served us. We're standing on their shoulders, ladies and gentlemen. This is what we do. We have served, we will be of service. Thank you.
Congratulations. Well, now, let's go ahead and give all of the inductees and our champions a round of applause.
This has been so nice. Okay, let me just see what slide we have. But I thought we were going to go to the sponsors or to your remarks. There's a slide. So there we go. Thank you so much for putting up the slides on our sponsors. Hey, Michelle, thank you. Great. And to all of the champions here, congratulations. And to the Hall of Fame folks, congratulations. We always want to recognize our sponsors again. And our book, I realize everybody's got a book here from the Pittsburgh Foundation. Thank you so much. Who else? Who's here from our sponsors again, for Caliber and Dick Formica and everybody else, thank you again so much. Also from our generous partners, Voice of America is in the back there. We also have a lot of folks from AUSA. We want to thank you so much. We also want to recognize also, if you're here in the audience, I think we have several former Hall of Fame inductees. Sergeant Major, Master Sergeant Elizabeth Helm, you've seen her. Oh, she's back here. Hopefully I've got them listed here. Jan Edmonds. Is Mary Kay here also? Melinda Dunn. Rebecca. Right there, straight back. Great. Rebecca Isaac. There you go. Thank you. Karen Mecker. Ruth. She was here. I'm not going to be able to point her. How about if you all just stand and raise your hand? Because it's just too hard to point them out. Super. Thank you. And now we'd like to have some final remarks. Kathy, please.
Thank you all. Congratulations to our scholarship recipients in the class of 2025, Army Women's Foundation Hall of Fame inductees and champions. This is an honor to be here today with these amazing women. This group is especially inspiring, and I would like to give a special thank to everybody for your time and patience. And I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize all of the incredible people that put this together. Angie Holbrook and her team, and Alice Damaris and her team. Let's give them a round of applause. This was exceptional. If you would like more information on the programs that the Army Women's Foundation has, please pick up a brochure as you leave and consider us, as I'll be personal, for a donation to have a future scholarship recipient. Every little dollar counts to make these scholarships work. Our sponsors are wonderful, but it's also our individual donors that really help. So thank you so very much for being here, and I think I'm going to hand it back off to Janie for a quick final.
Again, thank you all so much for being here. We have a reception in the rear. We're going to invite everyone there, and as we do so, we would like all of the honorees to please come forward for pictures. Thank you again. Safe travels, and hope to see you all next year.